Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Iris Dev, and today we're going to talk about the Greek criticism. And first, we have Plato here and Plato's view on poetry. So, Plato was born in Athens, and he was born on 427 BC, and he was died on 387 BC. He was a Greek philosopher and systematic critic. He says that poetry is poetic inspiration. Poetic inspiration means divine force. Means poetry is being written with the help of divine force. And when the poet writes the poetry, at that time he acquires the divine force. And the control mind become uncontrollable, and he lose his senses, and then he writes the poetry. It means that when a poet writes the poetry and lose his senses, that time he has no control over his mind. It means that there is no reality in the poetry. That is why he banished the poetry from his ideal state. Second, he says it is imitation. Why it is imitation? Because the idea which poet has in his mind is the first thing, is the original thing. When he writes those ideas on the piece of paper, it becomes the copy of those ideas which you have in your mind. That is why it is imitation. Imitation means copy of the copy. So copy of the copy is no real thing. There is no reality. There is no truth. There is no knowledge of reality. That is why he banished the poetry from his ideal state. Last thing, he condemned poetry because he says that poets are like the panthers. As the panther pant on the wall, and the pant on the wall, the horse, they make the picture of horse on the wall, and the picture of the horse is no real. Similarly, poet doesn't speak the truth. Poet doesn't speak the truth, and poets don't speak the truth. That is why there is no place of poetry in the education, because it corrupts the mind of the people, so that the poetry should be excluded from the school syllabus. He gives the example. Poetry, in the poetry, the poet depicts the God like the human beings. But God is superior to the human beings. There is a big difference between the God and the human beings. God doesn't have the nature like the human beings. So human beings can have the bad natures, but there is no possibility for the God to have the bad poetry. So that is why poetry couldn't make the difference between the God and the human, so that he banished the poetry from his ideal state and says poetry is twice removed from the reality. Next, he says, what should be the purpose of writing the poetry according to the Plato? There should be the purpose. First purpose should be moral. Those poetry should be written which can teach the lesson of morality, which can teach the lesson of good values, which can teach the lesson of manners. What kind of manners you have, how to make the manners, how to make the good manners. The poetry should teach all these things. The second thing, the aim of writing the poetry should be to provide the knowledge. But the knowledge should be real. The knowledge should be prosperous. The knowledge should be apt for the ideal state. And the third thing, which is most important and the most important purpose of writing the poetry should be the truth. It should speak the truth. It should speak the real truth. And it shouldn't provide the lies, and it shouldn't corrupt the mind of the people. So these purposes, according to the Plato, are very important while writing the poetry. Next, he says that poets are imitator. Poets are imitators. As the painter imitate the picture of the horse and then paint the picture of the horse on the wall, similarly, poets are imitators. They imitate the human actions, then paint those human actions on the piece of paper with the help of divine force. He says, poetry is imitations. And his disciple, Aristotle, also says here, it is imitations. Next, he says that in the book 3rd and in the book 10th, that the poetry is not so real. It speaks lies, and there is no truth. There is no real knowledge in the poetry. He concludes that poetry has bad effect on the people's mind, and it has bad effect emotionally, intellectually, morally, and utilitarian factor is also there, which can affect the poetry. And poetry can affect the utilitarian factor also, I must say like this. Next, we have here that poetry should be ethical, but it is not ethical, and it is not philosophical. Poetry is not philosophical according to the Plato, and it is not pragmatic. Pragmatic means there is no particular truth. There is no observation, experiment in the poetry. So poetry is the divine inspiration according to the Plato. Poetry is the imitation, and poetry, according to him, should be banished, and he condemned the poetry. So it is all about the Plato's view on the poetry. Thank you very much. If you have not yet subscribed the channel, please subscribe the channel, press the bell icon to get the instant notification of all my videos. We have started the series of literary criticism. So first we will take the Greek literary criticism, and after that we will proceed ahead, and next we will discuss Aristotle. Thank you very much.